Welcome back, everyone. This time we are going to Ho Chi Minh City. We're doing a little bit of a tour of Walking Street itself and going to the famous Ben Thanh Market. Make sure you've got some comfortable walking shoes because the sidewalks aren't always even and you're going to do a lot of walking. Invest in good shoes before you go. So it's known both as Ho Chi Minh City and Saigon. Ho Chi Minh City from July 2nd, 1976. To signify the decisive break from the former South Vietnamese state, because there was for a while South and North Vietnam. It's to honor the leader, the Ho Chi Minh revolutionary leader who led the country to independence. However, Saigon, it's been known as Saigon for centuries, with its roots tracing back to like the 18th century. And many locals continue to use Saigon in daily life because it feels more personal and familiar. And basically, Ho Chi Minh City is used for documents, maps, and formal occasions. But Saigon is used in daily conversation and for popular locations like the Saigon Zoo and things like that. It kind of more describes the city's atmosphere. And also the international code remains SGN for Saigon. So, good to know. It's a bustling kind of economic heart. It's blending the French colonial history with modern street life. Like you can see the skyscrapers in the background. It's not the third world country look and feel that I thought, Vietnam in general was going to be. It's a pretty happening place. It's pretty cool. It really was. It's kind of a unique mix of kind of old world charm and contemporary energy. We'll talk about this building beside us here in a bit. It's a government building. So, street walking. There is a bunch of food along the way. Lots of little markets, lots of places, easy to find tours, and to book them. You can book them through your hotel itself, or you can just walk down the street. There's lots of little places to check out, to get help or to get rides. Grab is the most popular app. Grab is basically their Uber, scooters, cars, van, pretty much whatever you need, they'll be able to find it through Grab. It's also how they do a lot of their food orders too, through their kind of Uber Eats, that version. A coffee shop on the side if you want to chill out, just people watch and have a Vietnamese coffee. So we're heading to one of the most iconic places here in Ho Chi Minh City, in Saigon, called the Ben Thanh Market. And this is what the real city feels like in Saigon. It's movement, energy, and surprises. Fun fact, this area was once a canal. The whole area here was a canal. And in the 19th century, before the streets and buildings took over. That's how old the city's infrastructure is. Buy hats, you want to buy any of your touristy stuff, bought too much, now you need luggage, hey, they got you there too. Backpacks, prices aren't bad, everything okay. Here's the thing to understand with going through the markets and doing negotiations. Understand that negotiating is part of the deal. That's part of the adventure and part of what's expected. If you go in there and you're just going to ask for a price and they're going to give you a high price, you're going to say, oh, that's not a good deal, and walk away, you're missing out on the opportunity. It's part of the game. Expect it. Be polite, smile, and understand that they're gonna give you a high price. You can probably start off with about, if they say 100, start off at 25. In the West here, that would feel like it's being rude, like a kick in the teeth. Over there, start off with that, smile, be polite. Maybe you can end up at 40%, if depending on what it is. You also have to realize not everything has the same markup. So 40%, or it might be 70%. It depends on how bad you want it and what's there and how readily available it is in other places. It's usually looking at things, look at the price of things. Are you willing to pay that? Are you willing to take it home and accept that as your price and your tourist gift or whatever it is, right? So you have to put it all into perspective. Getting the absolute bottom dollar isn't always the goal. People got to make money too, and that's fine. But you don't want to. You don't need to leave. You don't need to leave without buying anything because the initial price was too low. It's part of the game. Like I said, smile, keep a happy attitude. It'll go a long ways with that. Be genuine. Yeah, if you want the best prices, try talking to the vendors. A friendly greeting before you negotiate sets the tone. So say, hi, how are you? And you know, having a little bit of human interaction before how much goes a long way. A lot of them speak fairly good English, at least good enough for conversing and having like a negotiation. And yeah, smile. Don't think of it as they're trying to rip me off. It's everyone's just trying to make a deal. So this is part of Ben Thanh Market, and on the outside it's got a big giant clock tower. We entered in from the back of it here, and it's one of the oldest surviving market buildings in the city. So here you can find everything. You can find local coffee beans, fresh fruit, hand-made souvenirs, street food, costume jewelry, obviously. There's, you know, a little bit of absolutely everything. One of the things that I ended up looking for and buying was they have special specific Vietnamese coffee makers. It's actually called a coffee fin, P-H-I-N, which is a little metal coffee pot type thing that you pour the coffee into. And I'll try and pop up a video here of, or a picture of one of them here. I bought a really big one because I was tired of making one little, like 2-ounce cup of coffee at a time at home here. I want to make like a whole bunch of it and then just put it in the fridge so you can just kind of take some out, make it, have it one day, a couple of days later make another one, you know, that kind of thing, or have a little bit throughout the day, or making it for, you know, the family when they come over and everybody wants one. Okay, well now they've got like 6 people, so bad idea of doing just a bigger one to make a whole bunch at once. It was interesting because I hadn't seen that anywhere else, but we did do some negotiating and I did fun. Here it's in the evening now. We are walking to the evening setup from our hotel to the walking street. And again, if you're gonna buy stuff, keep small bills handy, and food stalls often don't take cards. In the markets, they will sometimes, but I think you can negotiate a little bit better price when you're just paying cash.
Apparently, the next meal that I want to have, yeah. If I'm not you guys, I'm right here.
What? Japanese.
Lots of food, lots of the really low tables, and the little plastic chairs. They're everywhere. Not sure why we were having our camera so low. I think we were just trying out some new different angles, which was kind of weird. But then I saw someone with a skirt and I'm like, oh, that's not a good idea. So yeah, these little food tables off to the side. You got somebody inside there cooking food, and it's an interesting little experience. We tried a few different things there like that. It's fine, you know, it's street food, and it's probably fresher than half of the restaurants back here, where everything's frozen and recooked and just comes out of a package. It was good. It was quite enjoyable. So this is that same area that we were walking by. This is one street away. So during the daytime, where the video started. Well, everything starts to glow, and you can start to feel the day slowing down, and the night takes over. The area around here used to be called Charner Street back in colonial times, and the entire neighborhood has deep roots going back
But it hit me.
a long, long time.
But they didn't.
This is the government building here. It's a French style building, obviously, as you can see on the right hand side. It's across the street.
This is without stopping and going back.
And it's the Ho Chi Minh People's Committee building. Originally, Saigon City Hall.
Oh, instead of walking.
It was built between 1898 and 1909.
99% chance of making it.
And now it's a working government office, kind of like a city hall with departments inside and rooms that are used for city meetings and conferences, things like that. In the evening, they shut down the streets. So the whole street becomes a walking street. You saw earlier when we first got in there that we had to wait to cross. And now it's shut down. So it's all kind of a free space for walking up and down where the cars would normally drive.
Yeah, cars are not permitted.
On the left-hand side here, you can see. And on the middle of the boulevard. We're kind of coming up to a very picturesque view of the city hall here. A real mix of old and new. From the old colonial style here from 100 years ago to a modern skyscraper just off to the right. This is one of the most Instagrammable places ever in Vietnam. It's this hotel here. It used to be an apartment, sorry. It's called the Cafe Apartment at 42 Nguyen Hue. It's an old mid-20th century residential block turned into dozens of tiny cafes and studios. And kind of people gathering on every balcony and corner. And this was, I believe, it was a Saturday night. So relatively popular time for people to be out. But this place here, pretty cool. It was a busy, happening place. It was hot, and we had a few other places to go and things to do. So we didn't end up going inside this time. But it's a perfect spot for like a sunset coffee and people watching. And kind of people wandering everywhere. There were kids out there till like we got back, I think about 11 o'clock, and there were little kids everywhere. Families are just out relaxing. It's locals and tourists. It is not just a tourist trap. This is kind of real life. Off to the side, you might see in certain areas there's street performers. We came here looking for a specific restaurant that we were going to head up the next day. And we did not right here at this time, but we did find it. It was in that little place. There's an elevator up to the 5th floor where there's an all-you-can-eat seafood buffet. Great place. Everything was made fresh. Like, there's your lobster swimming in the tank. And then it's just all you can eat. So order your lobster and have it served up. And the food was really good. I think it was about $45 a person, Canadian. So not a bad price for really fresh seafood, cooked as much as you want. There's lots of things. So if you're not into seafood, probably you're not going to need the best value there. But if you like seafood, lots of options. They did have sushi as well, and they had a bunch of other, all sorts of interesting foods. Interesting, I don't mean scary necessarily. I did have sea urchin, which I thought was the scariest thing that I tried, but it was less scary than I thought. It was kind of creamy, kind of like a custard. Not a whole lot of flavor. They had a kind of a spicy chili oil in there. That was really, really good. But yeah, so if you're ever gonna taste something like that, don't worry about it. It's not very fishy. So this place here, I mean, there's a lot of couples, families, kids chasing lights and stuff. It's kind of the heartbeat of Ho Chi Minh City. And it goes for probably about 8 blocks in one direction. It's a pretty big gathering place. Small places to eat along the sides, a few vendors on the sides, restaurants. A lot of it's just people gathering to hang out with friends. You could see a little bit in the distance here that there is some lights and some fog or some sort of performance happening. And because it was on a weekend, it was a little bit more active, so they had power and lights and speakers, and there were various different performances. We watched a couple of them, and I had my camera up really nice and high. We got great video of it if I turned it on. So this is us on the way back after I realized I missed all the good performances. Just finding my way past some people up the tree. Vietnam in general, I think, was a lot more, how do I say this? It was a lot more middle class than I had expected. And it was really nice to see. There was a very upbeat, positive atmosphere. Everything was really quite welcoming. I'm saying that with a question mark because, I was just there as a tourist. I didn't spend a lot of time there, but, even as a tourist, if you took a little bit of time, said hello to somebody and said anything more than that, people were genuine. They really felt like in the markets where you were, in the Ben Thanh market, you're there as a customer and that's it. But if you're out and about here and you start talking to somebody a little bit, they're genuine people. And it was really nice to see that you weren't just another tourist, get out of the way or buy something or, that kind of attitude. It was really nice. Well, for us, that was the last show of the evening, and we continued on walking.
This is like...
The area is pedestrian only from 7 p.m. till 2 a.m. And like I said, I think we got back at about 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. And it felt very safe. It really did feel safe. Lots of people, kids everywhere, even walking through some of the markets, going into some of these buildings. It felt more like it's just crowded more than unsafe. Do you need to always exercise caution? Absolutely. But in no time throughout this whole experience here, this trip, this day here, did we feel any sort of stress or worry about people being mischievous or sly or something else. All right, here we are walking into one of the covered markets. One of the busiest covered markets after dark. Lots of food. This is kind of one corner of it here that is basically a little grocery store, which I hadn't ever thought of putting a small grocery store inside of a little market. They two just seem to be like they'd be opposites. But there's that. There's lots of fresh food, and like any other market, there's handcrafted stuff. And there was a lot of interesting food, fresh banh mi, grilled seafood, coffee roasting, local desserts. Smoothies, these are all candies. Whole candy stall here, all off to the side. You can pick what you want. More candies and treats and desserts. Some jellies. Off to the side, these long canes on the left-hand side. That's all sugar cane. So they're taking actual sugar cane there, putting it through a press, and it will be putting out juice off to the side. So that's all pressed sugar cane going into the bag. And then there's going to be fresh sugar cane juice coming off the back end, which they take that, and then they'll make some different drinks out of it, mixing it with other fruit juices to get a really sweet, fresh, squeezed drink. They had other items here that they're actually cooking fresh in the background. There's some seafood. Grapes, candied grapes and tomatoes on sticks. Well, area there for you to sit down and enjoy your food. Try local foods. And there's lots of good locals here too. Not just another tourist trap. It's nice. Families are out. And although, it's a bustling place and it was quite busy here and actually really quite hot and humid for us walking out here. Which is why we didn't really stop much, because it was pretty humid in there. And wanted to do the walkthrough and see what's all there. Lots of goodies here. It's always good seeing how different people in different parts of the world enjoy their food, their snacks, enjoy their weekends. When we came around the corner here, we saw that there was a stage and something going on there. I think it was just the very end of it. They were just finishing it up. I don't know what it was about, because we got there a little late. So you can see the bottles in that styrofoam container. Those are all going to be sugar cane. Oh, right, it was an auction. It was some sort of an auction going on. That was the sound of it. I'm pretty sure the fish are not to eat. But I'm just gonna say I'm pretty sure. And then we were done. And it was good to get some air and start moving back outside.
Good? Oh, it's so hot. You know what I noticed? Careful walking down here. I missed the last
Another one of the very popular Instagrammable streets with their great yellow star, all sponsored by a bank. Of capitalism within communism. Seems to be their ticket to success so far. And then we started looking at walking back. And as we walked back toward the People's Committee building, listening to the sounds of the city, with its blend of old and new, its colonial architecture next to the LED facades. It was very unique, very interesting. It was peaceful. It was a wonderful walk out and about. I know there's a big statue there of Ho Chi Minh, which we're going to walk up to here soon. And here we are walking up to the Ho Chi Minh statue. And it's about, I think it says it's a 7-meter tall bronze statue. Directly in front of the People's Committee building. Put up there about 2015 for the leader's 125th birthday. It depicts Ho Chi Minh in a welcoming pose, symbolizing the city's respect and love for him. one of the things that I've been hearing from some of the locals and people from there is their idea and their kind of a mantra of war no more. I think they learned a lot from as frustrated as they are with their governments at different times and leaders and whatever issues that you may have. The last thing they want is war. They're finally on the track of rebuilding and rebuilding in a strong way. And like I said, it's the communism with capitalism in it. So there's ways for people to make money, and the government doesn't take it all. There's side hustles, and yet there is an emerging middle class. Quite a few EVs out and about, and more coming all the time, both in the scooter form, in some of their buses, and some of their cars. I know flying into Hanoi, there was a huge BYD factory. So obviously there are parts of things being made there. And it's one of the things they do trade with China. They do trade with China's enemy, which would basically be India. They do trade with Russia. They do trade with the US. They do trade with basically everyone. And that's one of their ideas, is that they're open for business to anyone, regardless of the country's ideology. And yet, with their communism, they've established a fairly solid social system with their, universal health care and their, minimum wages and a bunch of other socialist programs, which keep a base level. And sure, their poorest people, the people who have the lowest wage, have a really quite low wage. Even on the low wages, other things also follow, meaning you can find food for very inexpensive. You can find housing where that's affordable. So even though there are expensive things and expensive hotels, and there are some fancy cars driving around, they're also on the lower end. So the lower end here that is not as rich, does not make much money, can still survive. They're not homeless. They're not generally, there's not a lot of homeless at all. I mean, the people that you see on the side of the street that are just kind of sleeping or nodding off or whatever, they're not necessarily homeless people. They are workers on break. They're guys who are out. Maybe they had a couple of drinks. Maybe they're Grab drivers who are just having a rest in between going to work, and they're going to be working all night because that's the shift that they choose to work. So you don't see a lot of actually homeless people. And you also don't have a lot of beggars. You'll have people trying to sell you some stuff on the side, whether they, usually it's from a store nearby, but you don't have the same, incessant, begging that you do in other places. Here, and for this Pastura Street craft beer, and you see one person who's trying to sell stuff, and it's it's a more of a tourist restaurant. However, they're fairly rare. They're really not that common. Here we had across the street a number of tandoori houses and East Indian type foods. And then where we were staying a little further down, it turns into Koreatown and Japanese town, things like that. There's a lot of hustle on the far side. We walked on the quiet, on the dark side of the street this time, walking back. If you explore Ho Chi Minh City, take your time. Watch, listen, and you'll find a story in every corner. Take the time to go to a coffee shop and sit on the side and just people watch. Listen to conversations, watch people's faces. Even if you don't understand what they're saying, You can tell a lot by just their attitudes, how they talk, their, maybe even what they're wearing and how they're progressing along things. It's absolutely fascinating. That's it for me this time. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.